What's up? Welcome to our first attempt at the weekly recap by the Daily Warden. This is the Sunday, the 4th of February, and this week is obviously Blast Week. Hope you're having a blast, and it's very obvious what the highest TV contest is, unless you have a specific edge. So, just a couple of thoughts on the current contest landscape. If you have an advantage on Opus, that's obviously you're going to be continuing there. Otherwise, if you have an advantage on Hydra DX, simply because of a different language, that's another interesting one. Arcadia has the possible advantage due to the fact that most people will give up early due to previous audits. And then obviously Blast looks like the highest TV for the majority of people. Some rumor, we heard a rumor about over 500 people signing up. I think that's unlikely. I would say that there's going to be like 100 people actually seriously competing, and then obviously from the 100 people you have a wide distribution of newbies, new people, new languages, Go experts versus Solidity experts. And then in the next week, we'll see some more opportunities such as Paladin or Wise Landing, which seem to be particularly interesting. And that's it in terms of the contests. Let's look at some resources this week. The first one was this Twitter post by AlphaKey about how they believe they could have found the Kyber exploit through fuzzing. Basically, the post highlights the fact that this invariant around moving the price more than 5% was added to their own testing suite, which was effectively would have allowed to find the bug. Something I like to think about when it comes to exploits in general is that if you didn't prevent the real one, then obviously you didn't prevent it. So you can only learn from what happened, but you cannot say that you would have found it simply because there were $4 million on the line here. So you would have to have a pretty decent excuse for you to say that you could have found it and you didn't. Maybe you could have found it, but you definitely didn't do the work. That said, there's this first statement about the quality of the coverage for invariant testing, which I don't necessarily agree with, in the sense that yes, it is not particularly great, but I think Uniswap in general doesn't have a great fuzz testing setup, so I don't necessarily think this would indicate. Whereas the second thing about having these clamped values, that's something that most invariant testing professional would agree with, that introducing any bias can be very dangerous. But that said, the devil is in the detail, and there is a rebuttal by Permanev, previous auditor of Kyber, as far as I know. But basically, it talks about the fact that the fuzz test is meant to have that clamp simply because that's what the function does. And so, obviously, the devil is in the detail. And the only thing that I think is we truly should think about is the fact that it's highly likely that nobody ran the test during the contest and the subsequent bug bounty. And so nobody had this hunch to continue and go and check. And I believe that while nobody can say that the bug could have been, the exploit could have been prevented, we can all say that it's highly likely that nobody even ran the suite by changing those parameters, and nobody knew that the suite could have indicated a bigger issue. So hopefully we can all learn from that. There's a pretty interesting new suggestion in the Code Arena organization repo, which talks about how to basically change the formula for awarding partial duplicates. This is by Don Tonka. And fundamentally, the idea is that currently a set of duplicates that are all 100%, they all get a specific pi, and they all end up getting a different amount. Whereas what Don Tonka says is that when you have primary finding and you have partial duplicates, then the partial duplicates are still reducing the total pot of these main finding, which Don Tonka is asserting that shouldn't be the case. So to make a long story short, the assertion is that this slice, in the case of true partial duplicates, should be the remainder of all of the slices that have been removed. And personally, I disagree with it, simply because it indicates to me that you can have effectively one finding getting the remainder of the stuff. And so it seems to me like you can game it by simply having more partial duplicates that will effectively inflate the primary one. That said, this is a just something that you should go and drop your thoughts on, as it could have an impact in how duplicates are handled in Code Arena. Another rumor about Code Arena is OX Navy. This was from the Sherlock Discord. Basically, OX Navy is clearly indicating that they're applying to become a judge at Code Arena, and that can only be a positive for Code Arena versus Sherlock, which obviously has historically paid judges a lower amount. The next thing we got this week is the Abracadabra exploit, as well as a post-mortem by Kan Kodu. I also have a post-mortem on this, but I'm not ready to share it. I don't think it's wise. And you can fundamentally go through what Kandoku has said about the specific bug, which is reliant on the fact that they are changing the way the value that is attached to shares that would allow them to effectively steal value. I think in general, we should perform more checks before sharing more information about the specific bugs, simply because of the fact that Yieldbox and Dgenbox and Rebase library from boring crypto are pretty widespread, and so I'm holding back a bit. That said, you should definitely check out this specific post by Kan Kodu. And another thing to keep in mind is that, obviously we know about the bug because it was exploited, but you can see a post by Anton Cheng about, giving up. They basically 5 months ago, they had a similar intuition around this exploit, and they effectively quit too early instead of going deeper. And so this, I hope this can be a reminder for you to determine whether you're done or not, simply because an exploiter will never be done. And so it's something that you want to keep in mind, is that you should not quit until you're confident, extremely confident that you're done, and then there's nothing wrong. I think many people will call it the, I can sleep at night line. Basically, if you can sleep at night, then you're done. And if you can't sleep at night after what you've done, the review you've done, then you definitely should continue going. And in terms of getting started with security reviews, there's this great video by Owen from Guardian Audits about this GTDA method, which ultimately is a great starter on how to find bugs, and also a great different perspective in case you've already been doing it. And so it's definitely helpful to check and compare your notes. And in terms of new content that I'm thinking about for the next week, I'm planning on doing an office hours one, and I guess I am pulling the topic, so let me know what you think. But I was thinking of doing either the Swiss cheese model, the idea of having a security process that reduces the chance of having bugs that go into production. Very standard discussion, and then a more practical discussion on how I judge, where I basically show what happens when I get the repo, how I download the files, the type of pre-sorting, the triaging, etc. that I do, as a means to teach new judges, but also as a means to show you what actually goes into judging and why you should, improve the quality of your reports, etc. As a means to effectively become a better warden. And then the third idea that I had was simply a simple process on how to find bugs. I can share my own 2 cents and then show some practical advice. This will be more in line with the idea of having a office hours for beginners every month. So let me know what you think, and we'll adapt. And then the last news of the week that I got is the teaser for Recon. Recon is a tool that me and Antonio Avigiano have been building for a few months that helps bootstrap invariant testing very rapidly. There's this QR code if you want to try the demo. We're currently doing private demos to people that join our Discord, and we will have more public news towards the middle of February. That said, this was the first weekly chat about the weekly recap for the Daily Warden. Let me know what you think. Send me more resources if you want me to talk about them, and have an amazing rest of your week. I'll see you in the arena.